For decades, we've been told to eat 5 a day, cut out fat, and red meat with colours. But what if I told you it was all lies? Today, I'm breaking down 11 health lies that are making you sick. And when you see where they come from, you're gonna wish you knew this years ago. But don't take my word for it. I believe most of these lies myself before I actually looked into the facts. So let's dive in. Myth number 1 is you need fibre. We've all been told fibre is essential for digestion, and without it, we'd never poop. But where did this actually come from? So in the 1970s, it was Dr. Dennis Burkitt noticed Africans eating high fibre diets had fewer digestive issues than the Westerners. Now, he assumed fibre was the key, but can you honestly think of a reason why they had bad digestion? Look at the shitty diet that Westerners have eaten for many, many years. As usual, big food ran with it, said we need fibre, and then put it in our cereals, told us we need to eat more fibre. And then good old Mr. Kellogg's cashed in big time. The truth is, humans don't need fibre. There's no biological requirement for it. Too much fibre can actually cause irritation, bloating, and nutrient malabsorption. So it actually inhibits the nutrients getting absorbed into your system. I used to poop at least 3 times a day. Like, imagine how much your bowels have to go through so you can poop 3 times a day. No wonder my ulcerative colitis used to flare up massively all the time. Look how much work it had to go through. Now, on the carnivore diet, I might poop once a day, once every few days. It doesn't really matter, because I know my bowels are working slower, they're working better. And when I have a poop, it's a little less than any sort of diet I had in fibre, because it's taking out the nutrients it needs. Now, this is just a little bit of food for thought. The only reason fibre is sometimes good is because it sometimes slows down the absorption of sugar. So they're pushing the agenda that we need fibre, since we've been pushing the fact that we can have sugar in our diets. So all this heavily processed shit that they want to give us is packed full of sugar. So they pack it full of fibre. So then obviously you've got all these different, insulin spikes, but the fibre will slow it down instead of stop eating the fucking sugar. Just want to say that all these myths I'm going to be breaking down into a lot more detail. So each one is going to be its own individual video. But in this one, I'm just going to go over them quickly. Myth number 2 is eat 5 fresh fruit veg a day. Now this sounds official, like it had decades of research. Did you know it was just a marketing slogan with zero scientific evidence? In 1991, the National Cancer Institute, so the NCI, and the Produce for Better Health Foundation, aka the fruit and vegetable industry, invented 5 a day to increase sales. So guess what? There is no evidence behind it. So what do you think it will for? Money. Now, governments over the world copied it without even questioning it. But what you got to think is, if it was based on science, then wouldn't it be the same number across the whole world? But no, it wasn't. Denmark decided to choose 6 a day. France decided to use 10 a day. And Japan, as usual, like to go that extra mile, 17 a day. Yep, 17 a day. So if we're really backed on science, do you honestly think that everywhere would choose a different amount? So the truth is, there's no scientific evidence for the exact 5 a day. Now, modern fruit and vegetables these days is nutrition poor. It is pesticide and herbicides all over it, and basically there's nothing like it used to look like. So I'm going to put a couple of pictures on screen of what our apple used to look like compared to like years ago to now. Same as fruit like strawberries and stuff like that. I'll put a couple of pictures on and you'll really see the massive difference in what they used to look like. And then obviously humans got hold of it and started like splicing plants together to make them bigger, sweeter, and more addictive. If you want optimal nutrition, then you should always prioritize meat, eggs, and seafood. Myth number 3, you need a balanced diet. Oh fucking god. This one here really actually annoys me. Why do we need a balanced diet? Look at all of the other animals in the world. Do they have a balanced diet, or do they have the most optimal diet for them? Having a balanced diet just means people can eat a load of shit. They can eat a load of grains and stuff that really don't do them any favors, just because they think balanced is the way to go. Now, I've heard this a lot recently from my girlfriend saying that she wants to, we just had a baby and she just wants to have a balanced diet, which I don't know why. My daughter came home from school and we had a little bit of a joke about it because she obviously knows I'm carnivore. And they were telling her that she needs to eat a balanced diet in school. See, they push up on our kids. So then they can eat what in the morning? They can have this bowl of cereal that's higher than fiber, loads of sugar. Balanced diet, you need to eat your 5 fruit and vegetables or 3 pieces of fruit which is high in sugar. They can have a massive carb-filled glucose heart attack filling meal that night with pastas and stuff. Balance. That's what we need, balance. Now, the balanced diet was pushed by the government food period in the 1980s and 90s. It was designed to justify processed food and grains as part of a healthy diet, and then balance became an excuse for eating everything in moderation, and that's including junk. The truth is, balanced doesn't mean optimal. You don't need a bit of everything. You honestly don't need it. Why would you honestly need a bit of everything? If you get a cow, eat it from nose to tail, literally, or everything in between, all sorts of meats, organs, and stuff like that. You get as much nutrients as you'll ever need from nose to tail. So why do you need balance? No, once again, humans thrive on animal-based, nutrient-dense diets. Myth number 4, plant protein is better than animal protein. Now, this is a vegan agenda and these fake meat agendas saying that it's honestly better than animal products. But how can it be? Because they need at least 2 or 3 different sorts of foods, which basically then create the whole 9 amino acids. So in a piece of meat, that is 9 amino acids, all the spectrum in the correct quantities. In plant proteins, you might have a couple in one, a couple in another, a couple in another, and you have to mix them all together. But the problem is with that is the fact that it's not the right quantities. So you might have a spectrum of like 5 amino acids in one, but actually one of them is actually high and the rest are really low. So you're not actually getting the proper amount of amino acids, which amino acids are the building blocks for pretty much every cell. Why do you think vegans take shitloads of multivitamins every day and they look malnourished and they generally look anemic? Once again, I said this is a marketing agenda. This was pushed by vegan activists and fake meat companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, telling us we need to eat these fake meats. They're amazing. They've got all the amino acids and proteins you'll ever need. Bullshit. They claim plant protein is cleaner and better for the environment. How is it better for the environment? They're literally deforesting so then they can build more fields for these vegetables and stuff that are so nutrient dense. But what do you have to spray them with? Nitrogen and herbicides, pesticides. So actually the soil is dead. They then have to spray it with fertilizer to make them grow because they've killed everything off. How is that healthier and better for the environment? I've actually broken this down a lot more. Farmers should be going back to regenerative style, using cattle, bring back health into our lands, take back all the land that's grown for soya, grains and everything like that for the animals that aren't supposed to eat it, and then put it back to forests, wetlands and grasslands. And I can guarantee the CO2 emission, I think it got rid of 16 gigatons, so 16 billion tons of CO2 just from going from what it is now to that. Now the video is called "We Found the Most Ridiculous Way." Let me take a look here. There. We found the most ridiculous solution to climate change. Check it out. We'll put in the cards here, or it'll be in the description below. Now the truth is, plant protein is incomplete. It's missing key amino acids in the right quantities. Animal protein is superior. Obviously it absorbs better, helps build muscle because it's from muscle and overall health. Now every successful civilization has prioritized meat. Look back as far as you can go. When they first started, civilizations always prioritize meat. Now cholesterol, myth number 5, cholesterol is bad. Eggs are good, eggs are bad, eggs are good again. It's about time we stopped this high cholesterol agenda. Cholesterol has been demonized, but it's actually one of the most important building blocks in our life. If we didn't have cholesterol in our diet, we would literally die. That is not an over-exaggeration. We would literally die if we didn't have enough cholesterol in our body. Now, it's essential for hormones, brain function, cell repair, and overall health. Literally every cell in your body needs cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol to function. So where did this bullshit come from? In the 1950s, Dr. Ancel Keys basically did a research study over 7 countries, and he falsely linked dietary cholesterol to heart disease. As I say, I'll be going into all these myths in separate videos, showing how he went into it and how he falsely made this claim. It's just ridiculous. So then, obviously, once he said that, who do you think jumped on it? Big Pharma. Oh, we need to create a cholesterol-reducing pill. So guess how much that is per year? They make about £15 billion annually from creating these statins that reduce your cholesterol. Look at that. Money again. 15 billion. Why would they honestly help people with their nutrition properly and say, you know what, cholesterol isn't bad for you. What you need to do is make sure you're increasing your cholesterol because it actually increases longevity of your life. Natural studies, if you look at other studies, then it shows a direct correlation to people who eat in more actually live longer. So once again, this is going to be a video that I'm going to do later, but why would they stop a £15 billion a year business? So the truth is, cholesterol is essential hormones, brain function and cell health. Your brain will literally fail if it doesn't have enough cholesterol. The real cause of heart disease, inflammation, sugar and seed oils. It's as simple as that. But what's in all our processed food? Sugar, seed oils. Why would they take all that out when it's a cheap ingredient that they know causes health issues, but they don't want to take it out because they make too much money? Myth number 6. Red meat is dangerous. Oh my God. And in my opinion, this is the worst of all the myths. Like, this is literally the worst one that is making people the most ill. Now, as red meat consumption has declined, rates of heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and heart attacks have skyrocketed. If red meat was the cause, wouldn't these diseases have gone down, not up? Think about it. We've reduced the thing that was causing these issues, but yet the diseases are going up. Now, where did this come from? So who? The World Health Organization classified red meat as possibly carcinogenic based on weak studies that didn't prove causation. So they didn't actually prove that it caused anything. Then you've got vegan activists and fake meat companies push this agenda, falsely claiming that this basically is making people more sick. Or is it really? Well, I've just explained the diseases are going up and they should be coming down. And the truth is, WHO claimed to provide unbiased health guidance, but the classification of red meat as possible carcinogenic was based on weak observational studies that didn't prove causation. Meanwhile, they ignored the real culprits. Ultra-processed food, seed oils, sugars, but these are all safe. Or do not forget that in the 1960s, when they did the study on saturated fat and sugar, the researchers got paid, literally paid, to say fat was bad, even though there was no evidence behind it. And they said sugar was good. So that should tell you and warn you that there's only ever one agenda in any research that comes across with, like, making things seem better than what they are. You need to look at the research papers. You need to make sure who is paying for the research, because that is a telltale sign of what the results are going to be. Look at most of these false meats saying that they do this, they're great, then who's paying for it? Who's paying for the research? It's generally the people who want to make money. Now, red meat is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, and it actually has healing effects on the body. So, I'm carnivore, and I've been eating carnivore now for about 18 months. I also have colitis for 10 years. The doctor's telling me when I'm shitting blood 10 to 15 times a day, telling me you need to, eat more fiber. You need to, stop eating red meat. It's inflammatory. So, as you do, I ate actually a vegetarian diet and a vegan diet. And guess what? After a few months, I ended up in hospital, them threatening to remove my bowels. And then that's when I come across the carnivore diet. Come off all medication. I was on medication where I had to inject myself in my stomach every 2 weeks. So, yeah, come off all medication. My bowels have never been as good as this in the last 10 years. But red meat is the demon. It's the devil. Myth number 7. Sugar is fine in moderation. This year has caused the most health issues in the world. Like, what the fuck? How can they honestly say this is okay? This one myth has literally, cursed the human race since it came out. Why do you think they said sugar was okay? Because then they can put it in everything. They can literally put sugar in every food because of the study saying sugar's okay. Food in moderation is okay. But all while it's poisoning us and it's making us more ill. So where did this come from? Obviously, I went into this a little bit. The sugar industry literally paid scientists in 1916 to blame fat for. Yeah, the sugar industry literally paid scientists in the 1960s to blame fat for the increase in diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Government pushed low-fat, high-carb diets since leading to diabetes and obesity skyrocketing. So they pushed low-fat. So in 1970s, that was the biggest craze. Cut off all the fat and bacon. You want to eat low-fat foods. All the while, they're pumping you full of breads, pastas, rice, potatoes, because these are really good for you. And what's happened? Diabetes skyrocketed, obesity has skyrocketed, cardiovascular disease has skyrocketed, heart attacks has skyrocketed. But you know, sugar in moderation is okay. Now, the truth is, sugar spikes insulin, causes inflammation, and is highly addictive. Cutting sugar reverses diabetes, obesity, and chronic diseases. And it's been proven the amount of people now on the carnivore diet, or even the keto diet, are reversing their illnesses because they're cutting out all the processed, heavily sugared bullshit that they've been feeding them for years. Myth number 8. This one here kind of nicely rolls on to the next one. Carbs are essential. Now, name one carb that's essential. I'll wait, honestly. If you want, you can drop the comment below. What is an essential carb? Have you thought of one yet? Now, humans can use carbs as fuel. I'm not saying they can't. And they process it pretty well. Your body's good at processing it. But they're not essential. They're not optimal, and definitely not the healthiest way to get your energy. Fat is a far superior source of fuel. It gives you stable energy, no crashes, and doesn't cause inflammation. Obviously, unless you're eating seed oils, because they're full of fat, but they're full of omega-6s, which cause inflammation in people's bodies, and linoleic acid. So stay away from seed oils. Animal fats are superior. What if you think you've got 1 gram of carbs, which causes spikes in insulin, glucose, everything like that, or glucagon, 1 gram of fat. Carbs got 4 calories in it, fat's got 9. So for the same way, you get over the double amount. When your body is in ketosis, it burns fat amazingly well, and your body is well tuned to using ketones rather than carbs. That is our optimal thing. And our brain actually works best on ketones. That's why if you're in ketogenic state, your brain doesn't have brain fog. It works absolutely phenomenally. So where did this come from? The food pyramid and sports industries push carbs as necessary as energy. The start of this cheap carb ramp up during the First World War because food was scarce. So if you think back when then, the food is really low because obviously the war, but guess what? That was because there was a food scarcity and there was a war going on. So then what they did is decide to say, okay, people are supposed to eat like this. This is the best way. Look, eat this. No. Now, the truth is, there's no essential carbohydrates. If you put one in the comments below, then more for you because there's no essential carbs. The body runs better on fats and ketones, and your liver can produce all the glucose you ever need, because there's an argument where people are saying, obviously, you need glucose in your brain, but there's only one small part of your brain, well, literally a small part that needs glucose. But your liver will produce that, so you don't even need to eat any sort of carbs. And the food pyramid was never based on real science. So obviously they say you've got to eat this much of like crappy carbs and grains and shit like that, this much of whatever it is, and this much of meat, because it's like the most tiniest fucking portion ever. As I said, it's not based on real science. It's just a corporate. Basically, it's basically just the government forcing their agenda on it, and as usual, people just blindly follow it. Now, are you a sheep, just grazing on what you've been told, or are you a wolf hunting for the truth? Put a howl in the comments if you're a wolf trying to find the truth. Myth number 9, eating fat makes you fat. Now, for decades, low-fat diets were promoted to weight loss. So you've got like Weight Watchers, Slimming World. You can eat as much pasta and potatoes as much as you want, but you can't eat a full-fat yogurt. You can't eat fatty meat. No, you can't do that. Decades, obesity, type 2 diabetes has skyrocketed. The most shocking part, a child as young as 4 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now, this was classed as a adult disease. Now kids are getting it because they're eating chips, they're eating pastas, they're eating rices, they're eating crisps, they're eating biscuits, they're eating all these heavily carbed processed foods. So if we decrease the fats and increase the sugars, who is the real culprit? Who's making you fat and who's making you sick? So where did this come from? The 1970s low-fat movement demonized fat to push low-fat, high-sugar products. This came soon after the research paper saying that fat was bad and sugar was okay. Once again, look, they jumped on it and made money and made more people sick. The truth, fat doesn't make you fat. If it did, fucking hell, I eat about 2,500 to 3,000 grams of, or calorie-wise, of fat per day. If it made me fat, I'd be fat. Is one of the stupidest lies ever. Fat is essential for hormones, brain function, and long-term energy. Now, if you mix both, mixed fat and carbs, then what do you think your body's going to do? There's this quick energy source that doesn't take as long to break down because your body thinks, you know what, when am I going to get this next meal? Or am I going to break down the fat, which in fact, I can store as fat real quickly. That stores as fat quicker. So what I'm going to do is choose this one over this one. So when you mix them, obviously, you're going to put on weight. You have just fat, you won't get fat. Now, if you have just carbs, which is highly not recommended because you will die because you only need fat in your diet, you won't get fat because you need to mix the two to do it. But if you eat fat, if you eat carbs, you will die if you only eat carbs. Whereas if you only eat fat, you will survive and you'll do really well. Myth number 10. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, traces back to its roots in Pembrokeshire, Wales in 1866. Now, the original was eat an apple on going to bed, you'll keep the doctor from earning his bread, which I think sounds a lot better than what it is now. So back then, apples would have been a lot different, and they probably wouldn't have been as big, not as sweet, and they wouldn't have been all year round either. There would have been certain seasons that you'd get them, whereas now they're packed full of sugar, they're double the size, and they're full of pesticides and herbicides. So back then, it might have had a bit of something to do with, I was speaking to my dad about it, and he said that it was to do with scurvy at that time, so then a bit of vitamin C. Now this was for the poor people. Now the poor people, in my opinion, weren't eating meats, they weren't eating nutrient-dense food, they had to get whatever they were getting. So obviously, they were eating loads of potatoes, loads of shit, loads of carbs, because they couldn't really afford the meat. Whereas the kings and everything, they weren't getting scurvy, were they? Then they was having their feasts with meats and whatever else they could get their hands on. As I say, all these videos will be broken down into their own individual videos. So if you want to see all these myths, like really going into depth, then subscribe, hit that like button, so then obviously I know that you're liking this content. Now, once again, there is no scientific evidence to make these claims. It came from an old Welsh proverb that turned into a fruit industry marketing campaign. Now, the truth is apples are high in sugar, low in nutrients. Apples have no extra benefits that help keeping the doctor away. They might have a slight bit of vitamin C in it, but with the fibre in it and everything else, you don't actually absorb many of the vitamins. Now, a steak a day would be better for keeping the doctor away than an apple. If you're eating a full, fatty piece of ribeye, that will keep a doctor away, not a piece of fruit. The last myth number 11. Humans are supposed to be vegetarians. I actually fell for this lie. I was influenced by spiritual teachings of Sadhguru, and I became vegetarian, believing that human anatomy was for eating vegetables. And it came about because, obviously, they say the tract, like the digestional tract, if you're a vegetarian, is so many times the length of your body. Well, I'm sorry, but it's just not the case for humans. Now, as I explained earlier, within 3 months of being a vegetarian and vegan, I was literally in the hospital with them telling me that I might have to have some of my large colon removed. But because mine is pancreatitis, which affects all of my large colon, they would like to remove all of it. And then I would have been shitting in a bag for the rest of my life. If I didn't change from this diet, I would literally been shitting in a bag for the rest of my life. Now, where does this come from? The intestinal length. So herbivores have an intestinal length of 10 to 12 times their body lengths. Now, humans are shorter. It's about 4.5 times, which is actually similar to more of a carnivore diet. the stomach acidity. So herbivores have less acidic, suitable for fermenting plant materials. Because obviously what happens in an herbivore's intestinal tract, that's why generally they have more than one stomach, is the fact that when they go through, it breaks them down into fatty chain acids, and it has to keep breaking them down. So even though the herbivores, they're not actually using the carbohydrates for energy, what they're doing is breaking the fiber down into fats, and then they're getting into ketosis because they're using the fats from the fiber. Well, our bowels cannot do that. They can digest the most little amount of fiber, but the rest of it is waste product. We're not designed to digest fiber. We're not designed to eat vegetarian or vegan life like food. And humans have a high acidity stomach environment, so pH around about 1.5. And this is aiding obviously the protein digestion and it eliminates pathogens. So obviously meat, if there's any pathogens in it, we can generally break it down on our stomach and then we won't get ill from it. Why would we have such a high acidity level if we were having plants? Now, where did this come from? Obviously, vegan activists and people I've been claiming that we have got long intestines like herbivores. No scientific evidence saying that we were herbivores. No, the truth is our digestive system is designed for meat. Stomach acid is similar to actually scavengers. So while scavengers don't eat plants, but yet they've got high acidity, intestines, it just don't make sense. Every successful civilization relied on animal products, and that's no lie. Look back, go back as far as you can, and they all had their own cattle. Especially if you look in the Bible, they had their own cattle. They ate meat. Now these myths have been drilled into us for years, but now you know the truth. Which one shocked you the most? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you're ready to take back your health and your future, then subscribe to the channel, because I'll be dropping way more videos about the information I was put in this video. And if you're ready to take back control of your food, your health and future, subscribe, because I'm only just getting started.